everyone. Welcome once again to Elaine's gardening and cooking channel. It's going to be a short show, of course, as you know, this one's done inside. Still can't get into the garden yet for some strange reason. There's an awful lot of that white stuff still on the ground. But a few little things I wanted to discuss, such as beneficial things that you can put into your garden, some things that are beneficial, and some things that you should perhaps avoid putting in. But in the meantime, I'd like to show you this little list. I hope it shows up just for the heck of it. I named my garden Matthews Nurseries Limited. Just a gag, just for fun. But anyway, this really does come in handy because with this, I can, whether I plant things directly into the earth garden or whether I start them off in the greenhouse. And if I start them off in the greenhouse, then I can also itemize what day I put it into the earth garden. And it really does come in handy, like just to keep track of things. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting started using that. And now for some of the things that you can put in your garden and use safely that will enhance garden growth, I've been looking up the use of sawdust. Sawdust is not really recommended to be put into your garden soil itself, like when you have your plants actively growing. It's better if you put it in your compost because sawdust will take away an awful lot of the nutrients that your plant desires in order for the plants to develop to full maturity and give you all the produce that you want. Sawdust is better really put into the compost pile along with your soil, your vegetable scraps, things like that. Get them all nicely mixed up and let them sit because it's going to take about a year. So you'd have to really winter it over in order for it to decompose properly for you to use it in the garden. And then it will be quite beneficial and it won't be any harm to your plants. Okay, salt in the garden. Salt is a good thing to use on slugs. Now what you do with the salt, you take a salt shaker out there and just sprinkle the salt on the slugs themselves. You'll see them crawling along on the ground. If you see slugs on a plant, just pick the slug off, put it on the ground of your earth garden or wherever you see it. Take your salt shaker, sprinkle it on the slug. What it does is literally dissolves the slug. So that's a darn good way of getting rid of them. Another good way to get rid of slugs is to take a saucer, put some beer in it. Oh, they'll die. They'll drown in it, but at least they'll die happy. Okay, garlic powder. Garlic powder is a very good thing to use in your garden if you want to deter certain pests from your plants. It won't harm your soil any, it won't harm your plants. So if you happen to touch your plant with garlic powder, it won't harm it. So you don't have to worry about that. But an awful lot of pests do not like it because they can't stand the smell. And that's a good thing. And another thing that you might want to consider using as well is cinnamon. I believe I have that listed in my Facebook page, the gardening page. Cinnamon is a really good thing to use for your soil. It's a natural antifungal and it's almost like an antiseptic for your soil, if you will. It also is a great rooting compound. If you take a slip off of a plant and you want to sit it in water to root, well then dip it into a little bit of cinnamon powder to start with and then pop her into your water and it will root much faster. So if you have any cinnamon in your pantry that is maybe past its use for cooking but doesn't have the flavor and the smell that you want, don't throw it out. Use it in your garden. You won't regret it. Okay, soapy water, like such as for your dishes. Instead of just putting it down the drain, take it out, put it on your plants. It does wonders because the soap helps to keep an awful lot of your pests away. Your plants will not be harmed by it. Just make sure the water is still not hot. Okay. That should go without saying, but some people might think, oh yeah, I can just take it directly out of the sink, whether it's still hot or not, and go out and put it on the garden. No, you can't do that because your roots are going to suffer if you do that. Now, veggie water used from cooking, yes, if you're cooking potatoes or if you're cooking carrots or whatever, if you don't want to use that, say in soup or a stew, to use that as a base, certainly. Let it cool, put that out on your garden because your plants will certainly take up the nutrients from that as well. Grass clippings, They're not the best for using out on your garden. The reason being that your grass clippings may contain some grass seed. And the next thing you know, you're going to have a whole little pile of baby grasses growing in your garden. And they're going to be taking away the benefit that your plants should be taking. So your best bet for your grass clippings is to put them into a compost pile. Put them in along with your sawdust and things like that and some extra soil on top. Sure, they'll let them winter over, kill anything off that might be in the grass clippings, let them decompose, and then you're fine to use them on your garden. Now, worm castings, bagged worm castings are fantastic for the garden because they also contain quite often worm eggs, excuse me, not seeds, worm eggs. And they would be very beneficial to your garden as well. Of course, the more worm eggs you get, the more worms you're going to have in your garden. And for that reason, well, the more production you're going to get from the worms active in your garden soil, which is great. In fact, you really can't use too much as far as worm castings are concerned. They're great. And if you specifically want to protect a particular plant, certainly you can put some worm castings right around the base of the plant and water that in, because that the good from that will leach into the soil. There's no problem there at all. Spent cooking oil. Spent cooking oil is no good in the garden. No good at all. But what it is good for, because you might have the problem, well, gee, how do I dispose of it? Sometimes the garbage companies will not accept picking up used oil. What do I do with it? Well, I've found over the years that a great thing to do with it is on your walkways. In between patio stones or whatever you have in your pathway, you'll quite often see weeds growing up or grass growing up in between them. Just pour that spent oil on there and that will drown the roots. It'll snuff them right out. It'll kill them. And then, because of the oil as well, you can also just very easily take your garden hoe, take the pointed corner of it, just go right along your walkway, lift them right out, and they won't grow back for quite some time. They will, after a while, grow back, yes. But there's a good spot to use your spent oil. It's not going to harm your soil at all. And, the more weed control you have, the better your lawn will be, the better your garden will be. Okay, this was just a very brief show, folks. I'm just itching to get outside. I took a little video yesterday of the garden space, but I can't get it off my phone for some reason. As soon as I can, I'll be happy to put it on, but it's very short. However, the side garden bed is literally just bounded over like with snow still. My back 40, the new raised beds, they're just covered to beat the band. So it's going to be a while, but we're getting there. After all, it's what, the 28th of January today, so we're over halfway through winter. Spring is eventually going to come. So, all right, I'm going to cut you loose for now, and thank you for those of you who have come in. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you'll stay tuning in to this channel because it's going to be used very frequently, I'm hoping. So if you will, please give it a thumbs up. Give me a like on Facebook, the page on Facebook. The page itself is entitled Gardening Tips, Tricks, and Methods. So if you will, pay it a visit. Join the group if you like. The more the merrier. Okay, thank you so much for viewing, and you do take care. Happy gardening. Bye-bye.